Thank you, Peter. Madam Secretary, if you could have the roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Division 7, Gary Van Dam.
Here.
Division 6, Audrey Miller.
Here.
Division 5, Robert Harris. Division 2, Keith Dias.
Here.
Division 1, Drew Mercy.
Present.
Division 3, Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 4, George Lane.
Here.
General Manager Knutson.
Here.
General Counsel Kim.
Here.
And Holly Hughes present.
Thank you. Item number 4 is voluntarily public roll call. We always like to hear from those people that may be listening in. But, again, we've always had a pretty good representation in the past. So if anybody's listening in would care to identify themselves, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, John, you can set AV Mutual Group.
Welcome, John. Thank you.
Hi, George.
Palmdale Water District.
Yeah, welcome.
Hi, George. John Joyce representing Roseman News.
Hey, John.
Hey.
White Fence 3.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello, Gregory Washington from Roseman Community Service District.
Yeah, welcome.
Brent Byrne, Port Sill Water District.
Welcome, Brent.
Am I still alive?
I didn't catch that.
This is Jack C. from White Fence 3. I wasn't sure if it came through.
Good to hear from you.
Thank you.
Okay, that'll bring us down to item number 5, public comments and period open to the public. So in items that are not on the agenda, further, now is the time to address the board, and we'd love to hear from anybody. And if the item's on the agenda, we can talk about it during that time. Item number 6, adoption of agenda. 6A1.
Mr. President, I'll move on 6A1.
Dr. Miller, we have
Van Dam, second.
Dr. Van Dam, we have a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, signify by, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Drew Mercy.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes. Motion carried. Yeah, thank you. That'll bring us item number 7, consent calendar. We have 2 items on consent calendar. Pages 5 and 10, the minutes of November 14th and November 27th. So motion would be in order.
This is Director Mercy, so moved.
We have a motion by Director Mercy,
I'll second it.
second by Director Donato. Is there any discussion? Madam Secretary, if we could have a roll call.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Drew Mercy.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes. Motion carried. We're moving right along. That'll bring us to new business. And it's provide guidance to Avek's representative for the Watermaster special meeting. It's scheduled Thursday. And their general manager, Matt, would you care to discuss that? Rob, would you want to start, or would you like Matt?
Actually, I'll have Matt start it off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't see you. You just came in.
I snuck in.
Okay. Now,
Good.
Matt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, board. And Rob, feel free to jump in anytime here. But so first off, we don't have a presentation, but on your desk, you should have received a copy of the agenda for the special Watermaster meeting, which is scheduled for Thursday of this week at 2:30 p.m. And you're probably wondering, why are we having a special meeting? We just had one. But so earlier this week, actually just last day, we received written notification from the Hallmark Group that there was 2 letters, and they're both attached to the Watermaster agenda. One was stating that they were not going to continue services into 2024. And then the second letter kind of outlined what some of the short-term tasks needed to be completed and asking who the water master or who the Hallmark group should coordinate with from the water master on transferring the information that they have on file for last year. So, as mentioned, the meeting is Thursday. There is an item on the agenda for Thursday's water master meeting to have a discussion amongst the water master board as to what the short-term plan is for filling that void with the administration staff. So I think that's where I would like to focus our attention and discussion this evening and make sure AVAC is on the same page when Rob goes to the meeting Thursday. He's got clear direction and kind of some guardrails of options that he can present to the water master board or have a discussion on.
Well,
So, go ahead.
no,
Were you gonna say?
go ahead.
Okay. So, obviously the obvious choice is for AVAC staff to fill that void on an interim basis for the water master. You know, we provided much of the service from the inception of the water master up until early 2023 or late 2022. The staff that was involved with that is still here at AVAC, and we have those expertise. Just a reminder, when we did provide that service, it was heavily subsidized by AVAC. You know, we did not charge every hour that staff spent on that, and we did not charge the full freight. We only charged the hourly rate of the employee that was working on Watermaster stuff, and what was not charged is the benefits and retirement, etc. So my recommendation this evening, and we can open up for discussion, but AVAC could step into that role on a short-term, interim basis and fill that void for the water master, subject to payment of the full employee freight, which includes the hourly rate and benefits and the 401k program that we have for employees. So that will increase the cost that, you know, as compared to what we charged prior to, you know, what I'm proposing. But I think that's fair for AVAC, and I think it's the right thing to do. And I think AVAC is in a position where we can do the full freight. You know, as before, we shared the task with Palmdale Water District. They handled the financials for the water master. My recommendation on a short-term basis is for AVAC to take the full load, where we provide the administrator, the secretarial or board support staff, and the financials. We'll figure that out in the short term, but I'm confident that we can fill that role on a short-term basis.
Mr. President, also, I'd like to add to that. Matt and I, since I was coming home yesterday when I got both of the emails from the Hallmark Group's president that they were taking this action. We had known last week that they had, it sounded like this was the action they were going to take, but no written correspondence was sent to us. There was some discussion that by one of our board members that they were potentially going to reverse that direction they told us about. And then yesterday I received the letters that were attached to the agenda. So I think this is the only solution I can think of short term that would work for the citizens of our valley, for the Water Master Board. I think immediately we should go out with a request for proposal for a new administrator, and that we work quickly to take this back over so that the public is not hurt in any way by this action. So that'd be my recommendation also. And obviously I'd like to hear from the public that's here before we take any action to make sure that this aligns with what the public feels.
Thank you, Ron. Now, Does any other directors have any comments?
I do. Two things I like. Two things here I'm liking what I'm hearing is first one I was, opposed to first unless we had the entire benefit package of an employee per hour. And I don't believe it should be shared. This one person takes on this thing. I think the best option is AVAC. That way there's no potential conflict of interest out there among the other state water contractors. And if that's what the people want to do, go up to bid on a short-term basis, that's what should be done. Simple as that. So.
Yeah,
I had one comment.
Aaron.
Yeah, I think it's good that AVAC's taken on the role. I think that with AVAC being in that position, when we do get the RFP out and get a new administrator in there, that we're going to be able to advise them. And so AVAC will always have some role in it. So that's it.
Okay. It certainly seemed like the right thing to do at this point. John, did you have a comment?
Good evening, everybody knows me, probably John Clandry. George and I were probably the only two people in this room that were here when AVEC was started. And it didn't go really well at first.
That's for sure.
Armando Rusi got so upset one night, instead of saying that all you guys do is put the cart in front of the horse, he started yelling, all you do is put the horse in front of the cart. All you do is put the... Mr. Larson was screaming and yelling, but I'm going to speak for myself. Over the years, we have come to trust AVEC and respect AVEC for everything that they've done. I was against Hallmark. I was on the Water Master Board at the time. I wanted to keep it local. My concern is I would love to see AVEC staff up if they possibly could and do this on a long-term basis. You're here, you're local. We trust you guys. I trust you guys. I think a lot of other guys trust you guys. And I would urge you guys to take it past the interim point. And that was always my first choice. That's it. Thank you.
Well, it's nice to hear that. And certainly all those comments we considered, and in no telling what's going to happen. So we'll
thanks for letting me be heard. Appreciate it.
We'll see where it
Thank
goes.
you, John. Good to see you.
Hey, Brandon.
George, this is John Yucasad.
Hey, John.
How you doing?
Doing well, John.
I'm in full support of this, a short-time basis. As long as it's all right with Matt and Angel.
It's I appreciate hearing that. Brendan.
Brandon Clandry. As you guys know, I sit on the Water Master Board. It's definitely disappointing that we're in this situation, and just want to extend a sincere thank you guys for opening your doors to us, allowing us to have our meetings here and hosting us in such a gracious manner. Definitely in support, and I would appreciate you guys taking a look at this. I understand that it can be taxing on your staff. The last thing we want to do is cause any harm to anybody that's working for you guys already, but if there is a way to do it, we are definitely in full support of AVAC stepping in. And from my mouth here right now, thank you guys for even considering it. And if you guys have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brendan.
I do have a comment again. Appreciate your kind words and comments to AVAC. Like you said, it's been here a long time. We have very smart people on this board. We've had smart people all along, and workable people. That's the key. Workable people. I spent 15 years going to Sacramento and the ground to the adjudication itself. There might be, we'll talk about it with staff, but we might be able to create a different category, a possibility, a division just for them that would be different than our regular, schedule. So we have to take a look at that possibility. I believe you're right. Hallmark was not my first choice. I had another company I thought was local who would have done a hell of a job, and we wouldn't be in this. But 2020 hindsight. The one thing I did appreciate was the scheduling of services that if they were the contract, we saw in detail what was going on, what they were going to do. The first go around, nobody ever had that. And now we have that, and that's a tool we can use to build off of for the future to make this thing work. There's no reason to go take 2 steps back. AVAC's got the tools and the location. We need to start to figure a way to make it work.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Ian, do you have any comments?
Galen Kyle. There was people in the advisory that had suggested, I think I brought it up to you people before, that maybe AVEC could house the replacement for Hallmark here, but the water master paid them. But maybe you could have an office for them. And I don't think we need a big, huge company that we had. I think one individual can handle this job. We saw that through October, Hallmark had only put in 26 hours a week. That was their average. This doesn't take 4 or 5 people. Thank you.
Is there anybody listening in and wishes to address the board? Right now, we don't have a board order, but we're looking, Rob's our representative this Thursday, and I think you see the leaning of the board, and that we would like to go ahead with is your recommendation and Matt's recommendation that we would take it on an interim basis. And in the meantime, if there's anything different than that, you and Matt can look at it and report back to the board with what you think might be best for them.
Thank you, Mr. President. And the procedure will be on Thursday. I will tell the board what's occurred at our meeting and tell them that I believe we have a consensus to offer our services, but we did not take any action until we know that the Water Master Board wants us to do this. So I think we have
that's a good point.
A good idea that
good point.
Yeah. So we have to build consensus to get their approval and make sure that happens. But I really appreciate the board stepping up and providing us with this option that is a very good option for us to continue without losing any time or effort or so I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
So it appears everyone on the board is supportive of this. If not, now's the time to say something. But
yeah, I'm in support of it, and I just want to thank the Kyles, the Clandrys, all the local farmers that are that trust in AVAC.
That's worth a lot.
And put their trust
in the stake in the valley.
And our directors. Thank you guys. So we appreciate it.
No, it's worth a lot. People live here and been here for some number of years. And
right.
I appreciate seeing that. Yeah. Okay, I think.
I'll say I agree and share Gary's sentiment. Appreciate the input tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, and Rob, I'm just curious, will the budget, do we have any idea how much the cost is going to be? And that you're going to be within the Water Master's budget?
Yeah, it's something we're going to have to work out. Everybody's singing Kumbaya tonight, but hopefully I don't freak out when they get the first invoice from AVAC. I'm just joking.
Well, I can promise you the first meeting we won't come with a change order.
Yeah.
That's water.
I do believe we need to go with this idea at this point and then see what the Water Master.
Yeah, Audrey, if it gets traction, AVAC staff will have to do some work on a staffing plan, make sure that's clear to everybody, and a budget based around that staffing plan.
Right.
So,
I just didn't know if you had looked into that.
No, not in detail. The good thing with the Water Master is that they did approve the increase in assessments to $950 for next year. So there is some revenue there to work off of. So I mean, obviously, we'll do our best to keep the cost down, but should be sufficient revenue.
Well, this is work in progress as long as it's approved by the water master board.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, I think we'll move on to the finance in the committee, and then Mr. Director Donato is chairman of that committee.
Yes, committee met yesterday. So board order AB1, consider possible action to accept and file the check registry. That's from November 17th, 23, to December 1st. Go ahead.
All right. So, good evening. As Director Donato mentioned, we went through the checklist in detail with the Finance Committee. They met yesterday, actually. The special Finance Committee meeting. Went through it in detail. Everything is pretty benign on the list. Item number 1 is associated with the variable charges for water deliveries during the month of October. So that's water delivered to our plants, water banks, etc. Everything else was pretty routine. The committee did go through it in detail, asked a few questions, but tonight we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any new board member have any questions? Had a chance to review it? We can take a few more minutes if you'd like. If there's no questions, again, the motion would be in order.
I'll move on board order AB1.
Motion by Director Donato. Second by
Director Miller.
Director Miller.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Madam Secretary, if we could have our roll call.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried.
Okay, that brings us to item 8B2. This is a consideration of possible action on approving a purchase order with R&B Automation for the replacement of 6 20-inch filter effluent valves at the Fort Hill Water Treatment Plant, not to exceed $119,000, almost 339. And our operations manager, Mr. Mozigian, has got a presentation.
All right, thank you, Frank. Good evening, directors. A little background, the Quartz Hill Treatment Plant has 24 filters. Each filter has 5 very large butterfly valves. And every year we try to replace some of these valves. The initial filters are about 50 years old. So we're methodically going through the plant replacing valves. This year, we're bringing to you a proposal to replace 6 more of these effluent valves. This is the valves where the water is filtered and it leaves the filter and ultimately goes into the clear well. So Holly, if you can go to the first slide there. Okay, so this is the filter effluent channel. All the filtered water goes into this channel. And normally it doesn't look like this. It's usually submerged about 14 feet of water. So you don't really get to see this that often. These blue valves are the ones that were replaced last year. And you can see, Director Donato did point out there's a lot of corrosion on some of these pipes. We're working on a plan to recoat these pipes. The problems we face are, one, this is a submerged channel, so we have to drain the plant, which means you have to take it offline. And then there's a matter of cleaning these pipes, recoating them, and we can't be offline for too long. So we may end up temporarily partitioning different parts of the plant just so we can have sections drained, do this work, and keep the plant running. Anyway, that's for another day. Next slide, Holly. Okay, these are the ones that were replaced a couple of years ago, and they're faring very well. These valves are submerged duty valves, so they're not just off the shelf regular butterfly valves. They're very specialized. And next slide, Holly. Okay, so this is while they're replacing them, they have to remove the old valve. They have to use a crane, lower the new valve in place. This stem is a different size than what the stems were 50 years ago. So they have to take a big piece of stainless steel and machine an adapter fitting so that this tube will now connect to the new valve, and they put the adaptive fitting in between, which means there's welding and machining and some different things. It's a lot of work. It's very specialized. This is classified as a confined space, so they have to be confined space certified to do this work. And all this is leading up to the punchline. How much is this going to cost? Well, it's if you prorate it over 50 years of use, it's not much, but $120,000 is a big pill to swallow. So we went out 2 years ago. We went out to 3 different companies to do this work. R&B has worked for AVEC for 25 years doing automation and valve replacement. But we do like to price people once in a while, so we priced Bowie Contractors and WM Lyles and R&B. And R&B was the lowest price to do it a few years ago. We're sure they still are. They have lower overhead than those other companies. And the good thing is they stock these valves. These valves are typically about a 6-month lead time. And R&B does so much work for SoCal Gas, Edison, Metropolitan. They have a tremendous inventory of valves. So that's another good thing. They have these in stock. Last year, we did price the valves. We thought maybe we can buy the valves, get a better deal, and just have them install them. We checked with Cordmain, Ferguson, and Rain-for-Rent, and R&B was the lowest price on these valves because they have them. And so all this leads up to, are we sole sourcing R&B? Yeah, we kind of are. But this falls under very specialized work, and there's not many contractors that can do it for the price that we seem to get from this company. So we would ask that the board support the proposal to award this contract to R&B. We're going to do this work in the middle of February. The plant will be shut down for 2 weeks, and R&B will take probably 1 week to do this work. It's a good opportunity. If the board's interested, we can let you know during that time. You can actually go down into these parts of the plant where you'll never be able to, 50 weeks out of the year. So it'd be a good opportunity to see what they're doing. Anyway, R&B's price is within $1,000 of what they charged last year. So they did hold their price, which is good. They do a lot of work for us, and I think they appreciate our business. The price, as Frank said, is $119,339.63. And we would ask that the board would support that. Be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from John?
Yeah. John, did we go out to bid last year on it, or?
We went out to bid on the valves. Okay. 2 years ago, we went out to bid on the project.
Okay.
Yeah, and R&B was the least expensive.
But didn't you say there was just $1,000 difference?
This year, R&B charged $118,000 last year to do 6 valves. This year, they're charging $119,000. So they're within $1,000. And I would also add that the board allocated $150,000 for this project in our asset replacement budget. We're about $30,000, $31,000 under budget here.
Okay. Do they take the old valves in on trade and then rebuild them, or do anything?
They're histo. No, they're boat anchors. Not much they can do with them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any further questions from John?
I have one more. I had a question. So we're replacing these. How many do we have over time?
We have 24 of these effluent valves. Each filter has 5 of them. So 5 times 24, that's a lot of valves. But we try to do 6 a year of the different valves. So we're doing 6. We've already done 12. This will be 18 done. We'll do 6 more next year, and then that should be good for 30 plus years.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So on that, we're planning it out in those years, did we set in the price for next year, or?
When we work on our capital budget, asset replacement budget, when we bring that to the committee and ultimately the board, we will have our anticipated price. There's probably going to be somewhat of an escalation. We planned on an escalated price this year, but they came in way under, which I was. But of course, Matt says they probably charged us too much last year. But anyway, that being said, we're happy that we're under budget.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Okay, I'm going to border 8B2.
8B2, we have Motion by Director Donato, and we have a second by
Mr. President, this is Rob. I'll second that motion.
Director Paris. If there's no further, questions or comments, Madam Secretary?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You know,
John.
John,
Thanks, Jim.
it seemed like these pipes keep getting older and older. It's in 50 years, but you're not too far off right there.
Right. Yeah, my pipes are getting older too. So,
Thank you, thank you. The next,
Thanks, John. Good job.
okay, the next item, we have an executive committee, something that came up just recently. And we're gonna turn that over to your manager, Matt, if you could discuss that.
Yeah, thank you, George, or President Lane. So as President Lane mentioned, it's kind of a last minute item that we need to, if we want to do this, which we recommend we do, we have to accomplish it by the end of this calendar year to satisfy DWR. So Pete is the kind of the brainchild behind this, worked hard with Crestline Lake Arrowhead Water Agency. We worked closely with the executive committee on it. They had some good input and suggestions. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Pete and he'll talk through the terms that we're proposing.
All right. Thanks, Matt. So, as Matt mentioned, we were recently approached by Crestline Lake Arrowhead Water Agency, another state water contractor. They can only take direct deliveries of water. So in this 100% allocation year, they're overstored. So what that meant for them was that on January 1st, 2024, they were going to lose close to 3,000 acre feet of water. So what currently AVEC has excess storage is the way it looks like it'll end up. So what they've asked is, can they shelter some of their water in our storage space in San Luis? So we looked at that with them, developed some terms, as Matt said, got some good input from the executive committee on refining those terms. But essentially, they're going to transfer 3,000 acre feet to AVEC. We'll hold that water in San Luis Reservoir. And then what we get out of that, what's in it for AVEC, is we get 1,000 acre feet of that water. That just becomes ours to use for essentially renting out our space in San Luis Reservoir. All of the spill risk is on Crestline Lake Arrowhead. So if later on in this year or next year, San Luis spills, the first water that spills is the water we're storing for Crestline Lake Arrowhead. So that risk is on them. If they're able to receive it, they can call back up to 2,000 acre feet next year, and we'll do a transfer back to them in San Luis Reservoir. Crestline Lake Arrowhead will pay all the transportation costs. And then if at the end of 2024, they haven't taken back their 2,000 acre feet, haven't requested it back, we put in an option that AVEC can choose to either pay $50 an acre foot to absorb that remaining water, or extend the terms of the storage agreement with them for 1 year. And that's essentially it, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
So we get the 1,000 acre feet, that's AVEC's benefit.
That's AVEC's benefit.
And a copy of the term sheet that we're proposing wasn't included in the packet, but on your desk this evening is a copy of the proposed term sheet.
That was a good explanation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions?
I have a comment. I think it's brilliant to go think outside the box. So thanks for coming up with that idea.
Yeah, I don't think we can lose on this one.
That's the way we tried to set it up. So.
Sounds great. Good job.
Any other comments? Okay, that's not subject to a board order, but do we?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we do.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm on board 8C1 that we signed the agreement with Crestline Lake Arrowhead Water Agency.
I'll second the motion. This is Keith.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, we can have a roll call.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Good job.
Yeah, good job, Pete.
We'll move on to, it brings us down to the general manager's report.
Yeah, we're buzzing right along here.
Yeah.
So we do have a couple items to update on. The first one is on the High Desert Water Bank. So about a week ago, we received notification from Metropolitan Water District that they want to pause banking operation on December 31st of this year. You remember we got the initial 10% allocation for 2024. So Metropolitan has decided, based on what they have in San Luis, that 10% allocation, they want to hit the pause button on recharge activity until the allocation increases later in the year, hopefully. So if the allocation does increase, I imagine they'll notify us to start recharging again. So
is that because it would take water from San Luis Reservoir?
Yeah, they're just being cautious with the 10% allocation and what they have in San Luis. They want to make sure that they can meet all of their customer demands next year rather than bank that water. So we'll see how the year develops, but wanted to relay that to the board that we got that notification.
That makes sense.
Yeah. AVAC resumed our banking operation on yesterday. If you remember, I notified the board that the Edmondson pumping plant was going to be offline for a week. That occurred last week. So DWR requested that we pause on all banking operation until that repair had been made or maintenance had been completed. So that's been done. So we started banking as of yesterday. And then number 3 there is we discovered another leak, not as big as the last one, on the west feeder. It's the pipeline that goes from the aqueduct out to Roseman Water Treatment Plant, and it also delivers water to the water bank. It's north of the water bank operation, so we have an isolation valve, so we've isolated the valve, and we still can flow water to the water bank. The leak is pretty close to the other leak that we had a couple months back, roughly Gaskell and 110th Street West. Like I said, not as big. We dug down or had contractor dig down, expose it, determine what it was. So we've ordered material to make that repair, and we have SCI construction scheduled to make that repair once the materials come in. So
is that in the pipe itself, or is it on a joint? Or?
Yeah, it's on the pipe itself. It was a lateral crack, kind of a crack looking.
Can that be repaired without replacing the pipe?
No, it looks like we're going to have to replace one section of pipe. So unfortunate, but like I said, not as bad a leak as we had before, but we are working on getting that back online. Probably going to be another couple weeks. What do you think, John?
Is that unusual? We've had these 2 failures just recently.
Yeah, it's just an indicator that our west feeder is getting old. You know, it's 50-plus-year-old pipeline, and seeing its age and wear and tear and corrosion.
It's not a PSI issue.
No, it's definitely a corrosion crack. You know, there's issue with the lining, and it caused corrosion and just ate away the steel.
Interesting.
So we have that going on, and we met with the Public Information Committee about a week ago. If you remember back in 2020, AVAC contributed about $25,000 towards the Antelope Valley College endowment to help students at the local college with some scholarships. So right now, AVAC has about $4,200 available towards scholarships in the fiscal year 24-25 from that endowment that we started in 2020. The minimum scholarship amount is $500. Working with the Antelope Valley College Foundation and the Customer Relations and Public Information Committee, AVAC has been committed to award, or has committed to award $3,000 in scholarship, divided into three separate scholarships, so three $1,000 scholarships. The remaining $1,200 would be left in the endowment for a future year. The scholarships would be coming from the endowment, which will have no impact on our current budget. And the committee recommended and will have the opportunity to review the students that are selected to receive the scholarships and have final input on that. So,
Refresh my mind. How do they pick these students for the scholarship?
so if you remember when we first put the money in the endowment, we had some criteria. They had to meet a 3.0 GPA. They had to be enrolled in water science or a STEM program, science, technology, engineering, math. And we expanded it a little bit because it was so focused on water industry. We've expanded it to include some engineering because we weren't getting enough individuals that qualified under the previous criteria. So we've expanded it from water science to the engineering field.
Matt, wasn't also not discussed about AVAC would have a representative to help select that recipient?
Yeah, Pam Clark, who's kind of heading up this program for AVAC, she's looking into that, Director Lane. So what Director Lane's referring to, there's a selection committee that the college puts together to select individuals for their scholarships. We're going to see if we can get on that selection committee, just so we have input. That was at the recommendation of the
And I also think as a recipient, as a heavy way, they come here, they get the check.
Yeah, get recognized.
I mean, when you go to anybody that gets these different scholarship funds, they have to attend a meeting of the organization.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you educate these young people what ABAC is?
Yeah, exactly. And we have, it's actually one of John's assistant manager of operations, Doug Holmes. He's a instructor out there at the Antelope Valley College for water treatment and water math classes. So he's working closely with some of the students that may qualify for this scholarship.
Do any of the students go through those classes?
Yeah, I mean, they have to be enrolled in those programs to qualify for the scholarship.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah. Either that or
just lack of those people that's going into class, you know what's happening?
Yeah.
I guarantee if it was a Scotch class, they'd be breaking down the door. That's water.
So that's all I have. It's just an update.
Are the scholarships just AVEC sponsored scholarship, or is it named in honor of any individuals?
I don't believe so. I think it's just AVAC sponsored. Yeah.
Okay, is there any other comments for General Manager?
I would like to say, I like this program. And I think what you said about Pam trying to get somebody on that, I think would be very, very important for these young people to see what AVAC's all about.
Exactly. Yeah, see the opportunity out there.
Yeah.
Get a job here.
Especially when you said water / engineer.
Yeah.
God, everybody wants engineers.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we can hire some of them.
That's the goal. Yeah. Get them young and train them up.
I know the College Foundation is always looking for volunteers to help judge scholarship applications and award them. So I've been doing it the last couple of years. Definitely something I encourage any other directors that are interested in. It's a good process, and you get to see what the media doesn't tell you about a lot of really, really good kids coming up.
Good to hear. Cool. Okay, Matt, that concludes your report.
I've got one more slide. I'm sorry. We're pushing buttons. So tomorrow we have our employee luncheon for Christmas at 11:30 here in the board.
But thank you for that. It was very nice.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for being there. Glad you had enjoyed the program.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 11, attorney's report.
Nothing to report presently.
Item number 12, request for future agenda items. Okay, Matt, we do have reason to go into closed session.
We do for 13B as in boy and C.
Okay, so a motion would be in order to go into closed session.
We'll move to go into closed session.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried. Let's take a 5-minute recess and
Okay.
convene in closed session.
And
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice Christmas.
real quick, Director Lane, there's